I have a feel good flow for you today so that we can feel good in our bodies and feel good about ourselves. Hi, my name is Mariah. Welcome to Wealthy Boss. I bring you a new workout video every week, barre, yoga, Pilates, and meditation. So if you like free workouts, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. For today's practice, we just need a yoga mat. We don't need any other equipment. We are going to be focusing a lot on heart openers to help us feel receptive and open and confident. And then we'll be moving through a lot of dynamic flows, meaning we'll keep our body moving towards the end, but it's going to be in a way that feels really good. We'll still start kind of slow so that it feels yummy and so that we can just be focused on being in the moment and making our bodies feel good. Now let's begin.
We're going to start off nice and easy today by coming to lie down on our mat. If you'd like to have a blanket over you or anything to make you more comfortable, we're going to be here for a little while, just kind of easing into this feel-good practice. You can have your arms either by your sides, or if you prefer, you could take your left hand over your heart and right hand over your belly. Feeling the length and slow, calm rhythm of your breath, begin to settle you down here into your mat. Feeling the body sinking down. As we open up our practice today by repeating some affirmations, either out loud or silently to yourself. So as you feel that breath expand, repeating, I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. Again, repeating that affirmation. I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. And again, I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. And as the breath gets even longer and deeper, continuing to repeat that affirmation to yourself, letting the meaning of its words sink into our bones, feeling our heart here as it faces up towards the sky, opening up to receive symbolically and literally. Lingering just a little bit longer here, repeating that affirmation. I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. And now beginning to hug the knees into the chest. If you were using any blankets or props, now's the time to set those aside. Pointing tailbone down heavy towards the mat as we prepare to move the body, just gently still opening up into our practice. We're still going to remain lying down as we take the knees out to the sides towards the armpits or shoulders, coming into a gentle happy baby. So maybe for you that means holding onto the outside edge of the thighs as you lift the heels up towards the sky, continuing to lengthen tailbone down. Only if you can keep that tailbone down would you want to grab hold of the feet, and then straight away straightening into your supine splits. Now again, hands can be down by the bottom of the thighs. You can even keep the elbows remaining on the earth if that feels more supportive. But we're coming back and forth between our happy baby with knees wide towards the shoulders and heels pointing straight up towards the sky into those splits, all the while thinking about finding length in your spine. So really kind of pressing that tailbone down so that we can begin to traction the spine. We're opening up into the hips, hamstrings. We're adding a little bit of length to the spine here. This should feel good. So we're going to do a lot of kind of what we call dynamic movements today. We'll save any of our longer holds or stretches mostly towards the end so that we can kind of keep the body moving, but in a way that just feels so good, improving our mobility, improving our mood. and just kind of giving ourselves this gift today to feel good in our bodies. We'll get a little bit of strength going on later, but just enough to just kind of spike some endorphins and send happy chemical messages to the brain, which we so deserve. Perfect. From here, we're going to take the feet down onto the mat. I'd like you to bring your arms out wide like little cactus arms so the elbows are bent at 90 degrees. Feet are about mat width distance on the mat. And then we're going to keep the shoulders down while we spiral knees both right and then both of them to the left. So I call this our windshield wiper knees. Just kind of gently opening up to the back. So it's a very gentle twist. Knees do not need to come all the way down to the side. In fact, I'd prefer you to still keep both shoulders pressing down onto the ground so that we can keep that heart open. When we physically keep that heart open and shoulders wide, symbolically, we are kind of signaling to the world that we are brave, we are confident, and we are ready to receive. Do that a couple more times. Remembering to keep that breath fluid and flowing and as deep as possible. Maybe coming into our Ujjayi breath if you haven't already. That's just a gentle constriction of the back of the throat as we take both the in-breath and the out-breath through the nose, if that feels comfortable to you. Perfect. We're going to now hug those knees again into the chest. We're rocking, kind of rounding the spine. We're going to rock up a couple of times, kind of massaging that spine. So rocking and rolling like a ball. The next time that you come up, I'd like you to come up all the way, crossing the ankles. And then we're just going to reach the palms forward, stepping back into our plank. We're going to pause in our plank for a few moments to start to fire up into the belly, the shoulders, the back extensors, just kind of holding and breathing, seeing if you can take your breath a little bit longer. Feel the breath expanding the ribs in 3 different dimensions all the way around you. Coming into our plank switches, the right foot now comes to step up just kind of right outside or even right behind the right wrist, and then reaching the right wrist up now up to the sky. So we keep the left hand down, perfect. And then we're going to take it down and step it back. This time it's the left knee to the left wrist. Reach left hand up to the sky. And then take it back. We're going to do that a couple more times. So just alternating here. Keeping that back leg pretty extended. So that back knee is off the ground. It's lifting. We're spiraling around that spine a little deeper into that twist. Perfect. Now the next time you come back to the right side, so your right foot is forward, I'd like you to pause. Now we're actually going to lower that back left knee down onto the mat. And then taking your right hand, we're going to push it against the inner edge of that right thigh to kind of send the knee away from the midline of the body. We're finding a deep external rotation of that hip now, nice opening on the outer edge of that right hip. You can even lift your heart again. We always want to think about drawing those shoulders back. You can even lean back into it if that feels nice, and deep breaths here. And then hand comes off of that thigh, placing the hand back on the mat. We'll step back into our plank and find that on the other side. Left foot comes up towards the wrist, finding the twist first. Good, so that back knee is still extended off the ground. It's strong, it's straight. The fingertips are reaching up towards the sky. And then gently, carefully lowering that back knee back to the mat. And then use that left hand now to push the inner thigh away, spiraling it away from the midline of the body. Lift the heart, lean back. Enjoy the stretch. Got it. Now gently taking that knee above the ankle again. Left hand comes down, press it back into your plank. This time taking it out to our first downward facing dog. So hips are high, our hamstrings are as straight as they want to go today, but if the knees need to bend, feel free. And then let's go ahead and walk it out. So we find, again, some dynamic movement here by alternating bending one knee and then the other. Each time you're bending into the opposite knee, see if the straight leg can send the heel a little bit closer towards the ground, towards the mat. Being aware of sending the heart closer to the thighs so that we're really long in the spine and wide in the shoulders. Perfect. Now we're going to take a three-legged dog here by squaring the hips off to the mat. Reach the right heel up towards the sky for a moment. You're going to feel this in the back of the left shin and hamstring. Now we're going to open the hip up. So we stack right hip on top of left, bending into the knee. You can even look out under the left arm, finding a beautiful twist. And then if Wild Thing is part of your practice, feel free to go ahead and take that now. I always feel like that just feels so good and playful. Dropping foot down, reaching, extending fingertips. Lift the hips high up towards the sky. Continuing to breathe, opening your heart to receive. And then we'll spiral to face the chest back down onto the mat, come back up into our three-legged down dog again. And then you can keep that leg extended if you like, or you can take it to the mat as we take our chaturanga. So elbows hug in towards the ribs, upward facing dog, draw the shoulders wide. Thighs can come off the mat, or you can leave them down if that feels better. And then go ahead and press straight back into our downward facing dog. This time we take that series on the other side. So left leg lifts up. We're first going to start by squaring the hips off. So we feel this in the right calf and hamstring, mostly into the calf. And now we stack. So we open left hip above the right hip, bend into the knee, stretch. Wild Thing is there if you want to flip that dog. Really reaching the hips up, focusing on opening the front body. Still finding your deep, calm, steady breath through all of this wild, unusual movement. And then see if you can gracefully return spiraling that hand back to the mat. Three-legged down dog, reaching that heel up, up, up. And then you could keep the heel lifted or not as we rock forward into plank, lower down into our chaturanga, elbow squeeze and hugging towards ribs. Let's find our back bend, so upward facing dog onto the tops of our feet. Really draw the shoulders back like you're trying to lift the space right above your heart, even higher towards the sky. And then press back in a down dog. We're just going to roll through that vinyasa series a few more times, finding our downward facing dog. Press it forward into plank. Go ahead and lower down, chaturanga, elbow squeeze in. Knees are totally welcome to be on the mat if this is more of just a feel-good practice for you and you don't want the extra strength. There's a time for strength and there's a time just to feel good. So totally your call. Cycling back through, we've got a couple more times. Just letting it feel good. Moving at your own pace. And then no rush, but the next time that you take your chaturanga, so you're lowered all the way down to the ground, I'm going to have you actually pause there and then go ahead and lower the chest down all the way. Arms can just kind of relax out wide. We're coming into our bow pose. So again, a lot of heart openers today. This is also a great way to reverse the direction that our spine is normally in. We're going to do that by bending the knees in towards the seat, one arm at a time. We reach around and see if we can gently grab hold of the tops of the feet. Now, if this causes the low back to crease or crimp or kind of pinch at all, we want to leave it out. You can stay here in your upward facing dog instead. Otherwise, see if we can kind of kick back into the hands. That's the important thing. And then pick everything up off the mat, seeing if you can just kind of balance on your hip bones, taking a few breaths here. You might even find as you take those really full breaths that the body begins to rock naturally back and forth. This is fine. We're not necessarily aiming for that, but we let it happen. And then gently releasing it back down. We're going to come back down onto the ground, relaxing into it. We're going to do that again. So reaching back behind us, very gently, Kick, 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 kick. Lift, 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 lift. Lift your gaze up to the sky. Lift your heart up to the sky. Find your deepest breath here, strengthening the low back muscles, opening into the heart. And gently release down to the ground. If it feels more comfortable, you could rest one cheek to the mat so you're not squishing into your nose. One more time for our bow pose, reaching back. We kick, kick, kick. This time really focusing on opening up into the shoulders. So noticing that beautiful broad stretch across the front of the shoulders and chest. And then exhale, let it go. We're moving now into our Sphinx pose. So elbows come right under the shoulders, forearms are wide, the hands are apart, so they're as wide as the elbows are. The hips are still heavy on the mat, almost thinking about kind of pressing the hip flexors down into the mat, broadening once again into the shoulders. And then we're going to move here from the Sphinx pose into half frog to continue to open up the shoulders. We reach for the right foot as we bend the right knee in. Now, if we're open enough, we're going to try to keep our fingertips pointing forward for this. If that's uncomfortable, of course, you can just kind of find whatever comfortable grip on the foot is available. Hip points are pointing down towards the mat, enjoying this juicy stretch in the top of the thigh, hip flexor. Now noticing if you're collapsing down to the chest, still thinking about pressing the elbow into the mat and kind of lifting the shoulders, neck, and head away from the mat. A couple more deep breaths here. And then taking your time to release the foot, gently lowering it to the mat. We're going to take a child's pose before finding that series on the other side. So knees can come wide if you wish, taking hips heavy towards the heels, stretching fingertips forward, relaxing it down for just a moment. A couple of deep breaths here. And then we'll move it forward again. So coming back in a Sphinx pose first to prepare. Elbows are wide. Draw the heart up, press the hip points down. Beautiful back bend. And then beginning to bend into the left knee, reach that arm back. If it's available, you can keep fingertips pointing forward, palm faces down into the top of that foot. Feeling that great stretch along the front of the quads. I find it's really hard for me to stretch into the quads, so I love when I can do it. Helps me feel more balanced. Again, returning to that Ujjayi breath if you've lost it, a deep inhale and exhale through the nose, calming the nervous system, getting more out of the stretch. Letting go that very carefully, letting the left arm come down, and then we stretch back one more time into our child's pose. Knees can go a little wider if you like. And then go ahead and tuck those toes underneath. We're going to find our downward facing dog again, kind of revisiting this. And then coming straight away into our bear pose. So we bend the knees deeply, hips are still reaching high, rocking the weight back so that the thighs come either to rest, the chest comes either to rest on the thighs or as close as possible. And then straighten those legs again into down dog. So we'll move through that a little bit more quickly now. So bending deeply in the knees, pressing chest back towards thighs, straightening into your down dog. Hips are still coming high, even though we're alternating bending and straightening to the legs. So continuing to move through this dynamic flow. Perfect. And then let's just step the right foot and then the left foot up through to meet the hands. We're going to keep the knees bent initially, draping the body over the knees, grab hold of opposite elbows, then gently begin to straighten the legs as straight as they will comfortably go without finding any strain in the hamstrings or low back. Finding your ragdoll here, maybe gently swaying side to side, either with the whole torso, or sometimes I like to just let the torso relax, but take my head side to side, kind of shake out any tension in the neck and shoulders, relaxing into the jaw. Perfect. We're going to take it now into a twist by taking the right hand down towards the ground. If the ground is too far away, you could use a block if you have one. And then we're also going to bend into the right knee. So either reaching the left arm all the way up, or you could take it to the hip, and then straight away taking it the other direction. So again, we're kind of keeping things moving as much as we can today. So kind of alternating this twist, bending into opposite knee as the direction that we're looking. You might feel a nice stretch on the outside of the hip, IT band. Now the next time that the right hand comes down and the right knee bends, I'd like you to lift the fingertips up towards the sky and hold, breathing here. Or if you'd like, you can actually wrap that hand all the way around the low back, deepening into the twist. A couple deep breaths here, feeling any constriction around the ribs, just stretching into the space between the ribs with that breath. And we'll take that on the other side. Left hand comes down. We'll reach right fingertips up first as we bend into the left knee. And then if you'd like, you can wrap it all the way around the low back. Just feeling the fibers in your body just stretching out, becoming more supple and mobile. Perfect. We're going to hold our chair pose just for a moment. So take the fingertips up, bending deeply into the knees. We're going to get the heart rate going just a touch more here, find a little bit of a balance challenge so that we can just feel like we can get a little bit more blood flowing. Go ahead and come into a forward fold. And then round all the way up, knees bend. Here's our standing flow. You're going to want to kind of pay attention here. We're starting with a standing pigeon. So we shift the weight into the right leg, taking left ankle over left knee. Finding a little standing pigeon, setting back down into it. You might wobble a little bit, all good. And then as you come back up into standing, you can take that knee in. We're dropping now that left foot into a high lunge. We're going to take the left hand down, right hand up into a twist. So we're in a high lunge. Now 3 times down and up with that back knee. So knee touches the ground or even can hover above it. Right back up. 2 more times. It feels so good on that hip and low back. Now both hands come down onto the ground. We're going to square the hips off. Back foot comes in to meet the right. And we're going to take that whole thing again, just taking now left knee into chest as we come into a standing knee balance. Back into that standing pigeon. Now next time we move through this, I'm going to offer you a little bit more of a challenge if you choose to take it. But first, finding that deep stretch in the outside of the hip, strengthening into the right thigh. Perfect. We come back up tall, knee comes into the chest, and then left foot reaches back. Same as before for this part. High lunge, left hand comes down, right hand rotates up to the sky 3 times down and up with that knee if you choose. Just again, finding more opening and mobility. And then here's the shift if you want it. As you take both hands to the ground, instead of taking the left foot into the ground first, maybe you come all the way back up into that standing knee balance without the foot touching the ground. If you fall, no big deal. If you didn't care for that, we've got 1 more time to do this flow, so you can skip it or take it whatever you want next time. Reaching back down into that standing pigeon 1 more time. Take it all the way up into standing, knee hugs in. Back foot comes down 3 times as we rotate. The knee comes down and up. Again, here's where you get to pick. Foot can come to join the right, or it can stay off the ground as you come into your standing knee balance. Now, I said that was the last time. I kind of lied. We're going to actually do half of one to come into a nice, beautiful, well-deserved stretch. So take it back into your standing pigeon. Perfect. Come up into standing. Take the left leg behind you. Now this time we're gonna stay in that high lunge and then go ahead and take that right hand to the inner edge of the right thigh, kind of press it out, and then drop the back foot. We're gonna take down both hands down onto the mat, maybe even coming onto forearms. If you like, you can kind of spiral to the outer edge of that right foot to release into the outer edge of the hip. And then if you'd like to come into twisted monkey, you can reach around and grab onto that back foot, pulling it in or kicking it back, whatever feels like you need a little bit more of, and then opening the heart wherever you are. Again, if that foot is a struggle to reach, I don't want you to do it. You can stay down in that lizard pose, which feels so, so nice. A couple more breaths here. Carefully releasing that foot. We're going to take both hands down. Go ahead and step the foot back to join the other one in plank. We'll move through a little chaturanga here to find that standing flow on the other side. Plank, pressing down, lifting the heart. Exhale, find your downward facing dog. Bending the knees, we're going to take a look between the hands. Go ahead and walk or float the feet through. Let's go ahead and take our hands to the shins, getting long in the spine. Exhale, ragdoll forward, draping forward. This time getting strong in the back of the legs. We'll come up with a flat back, spiraling arms overhead. Hands to heart center as we this time draw the right knee into the chest. So taking that opposite knee, whatever knee that you weren't working with before comes into the chest. And then go ahead and sit back down into that standing pigeon. Noticing if one side is a little shakier than the other or tighter, all good. Go ahead and come back up into your standing knee balance. Take that right foot now behind you. Right hand drops down, left hand drops up 3 times down and up with that back knee. This should feel good. No need to struggle or force. Continuing to find a steady cadence with the breath. And then hands come down. Maybe this first time on side one, right foot joins the left foot before we get our balance again, coming up into that standing knee balance. And again, we go into that standing pigeon. Sink it back, stretching the outside of the hip. We come up tall, right knee into chest. Step back, right hand down, left hand up, spiraling around the waist, down and up with that back knee. Remember, this time you have a choice as you take both hands on the ground to keep that right foot off the ground if you like. It doesn't have to be pretty as you come all the way up into that standing balance. Straight away we come into our standing pigeon again. A little bit deeper maybe this time. Finding a little bit of fire in that standing leg. That's all good. It's just going to kind of cleanse everything out, make us feel so refreshed. We'll take that standing knee balance again on our way to step back into the lunge. Right hand down, left hand up 3 times down and up with that back knee. Good, your choice whether to take the foot to the front of the mat or to hover it as you find your way back up to standing knee balance. Good, this time it's just a half of one of the flows so we can come into that wonderful stretch. Sit back into your standing pigeon, please. Come up nice and tall, knee pulls in towards chest. Step it back into that high lunge. Reaching, rotating up, and then taking that left hand down. Go ahead and press away into the side of the knee as that back knee comes down onto the mat. Good. From here, both hands come down onto the mat. You can take your lizard here. You can even come onto your elbows. Roll into the outer edge of that left foot. And then if you reached for the foot on side one, time to do that here for a twisted monkey. Whatever you do, you're lifting the heart though. Try not to collapse in the shoulders, please. Finding that deep, full breath, resetting the body and nervous system. Carefully releasing that foot. Perfect. And then just go ahead and turn to the opposite direction in your mat. So I'm going to turn this direction. If you need to change where your phone or laptop is, just leave me, go ahead. We're coming now into kind of a wide stance on the mat. So we're going to have the feet externally rotated, and we're going to reach now all the way over to the right side of the mat as we bend deeply into the right knee. Left toes come up. I like to keep my elbow propped into the inner edge of the right kind of shin to help kind of protect in case this is too deep of a stretch. I feel like this kind of helps protect the knee. And then walk the hands over as we sink into it on the other side. Now you do not have to take your hips all the way down to the mat if this doesn't feel nice. In fact, if the whole thing is too much, I can show you an alternative here. You can simply find a nice wide leg forward fold and take the hips side to side. That also feels nice. So you get to pick. Today is just a feel-good flow, so whichever one of those options feels the best, the most enjoyable to you. And repeat that a few more times. We're taking our time. You do not have to move at the same pace as me. We want to keep those knees happy. The collarbones come open as you spiral that shin away with that inside elbow. Let's do maybe one more each direction, evening yourselves out. Wonderful. It is time to come down into a seated position. We're going to start to slow the practice down now. A little bit more of some static stretching now that we've just moved all that good energy out through the body, kind of receiving now that sense of calm and well-being. So with crossed legs, we're going to reach the right fingertips behind the head. Left fingertips come kind of up towards the right from behind. You do not have to interlace your fingers here. We're not actually staying here long. I want you to feel like you're pressing the right fingertips in towards the back and the back of the left fingertips in towards the back. So both fingers are pressing into the back, and then right away go ahead and release and take that in the other direction. So fingertips do not have to interlace. In fact, I'm just going to kind of keep mine apart. I more want to feel like the palm of my left hand and the back of the right fingertips are pressing and squeezing the shoulders. And then take it again, maybe even going a little bit more quickly if that feels nice, although speed is not necessarily the goal. We just kind of want to keep those shoulders moving. Again, opening into the shoulders and heart today. And then next time that you have the hold, go ahead and hold it a little bit longer. If by chance those fingers happen to touch, you could interlace them if you choose. So not important though, don't worry about it if you don't. Just feeling everything begin to open up and stretch around the shoulders, loosening up any constriction. You might even feel a little bit of tingling if your shoulders are really tight. It's all good. Let's take that over to the other side. Sitting up nice and tall. Your breath is still dynamic here, so even though the body is not moving, the breath is. And let that go. We're going to go ahead and cross whatever leg was on top. We're now going to switch to the bottom so our hips stay even. Coming into a side stretch now, we're going to reach over towards the right, so the left arm reaches up and over. Now that right forearm can stay down on the ground, but we want to try to send the left hip heavy onto the mat. So notice if it's kind of peeling up. If you need to lift the right elbow off the mat to do that, that's all good. And again, I'm not working with any props today, but if you do happen to have a block and wanted to tuck it under that right elbow to lift yourself a little bit higher, that's all good too. Wherever you are, draw both shoulders down away from the ears And then think about pressing that bottom hand into the mat a little bit to lift a little bit more at the heart. So although we're reaching towards the right side, we're still kind of spiraling that heart up. Feeling a deep stretch along the left side of the body. Send that left hip a little heavier into the ground. Grow longer from hip to pinky finger. And then before we move to the other side, we're going to take both arms down to the ground. So both palms come to the ground at a little bit of a diagonal here, and then just drape it forward. Again, thinking the whole time about lengthening left hip towards the mat. It's a great way to stretch into your tight low back muscles, your QL. This is where I tend to carry a lot of tension that ends up causing low back pain for me. So we want to stretch out kind of along the waist from back to front. Let your breath assist you here in growing longer and more relaxed. And then very gently press yourself back up into a seated position. And we'll take that same thing over to the other side, starting with that side bend. So right arm comes up and over, draw the shoulder blade down along the back. You can either have forearm down onto the ground, or if that right hip wants to lift, maybe you can just press into the bottom palm, or again, a block could be under the forearm or elbow if you like. Both shoulders draw away from the ears. The right hip continues to press heavy into the ground as though it were filled with concrete. Anchoring hip down so that we can get deeper into the stretch. How's that breath? Is it as slow and full and deep as you can make it? Perfect. Now we go ahead and take both palms down at that diagonal, just whatever feels comfortable. You're really walking those fingertips forward off the mat. And then bowing forward, but continue to move that right hip both to the right and then back. So it's like down and back, really stretching out along the outer edge of the waist. So good for your low back. Feeling your breath move through your body, displacing any stiffness, not only in the muscles or joints, but also in the inner being, the mind, the spirit. Go ahead and press yourself back up, and we're going to make our way into our Shavasana. So we come all the way down onto our backs along the mat. Again, if you want to cover up with a blanket, feel free. This time taking left hand on heart, right hand on belly. Feeling a sense of calmness overtake you now that we've moved through and given the body what it needs. Just noticing the difference that it makes when we gift ourselves with what our bodies need, that nourishing movement. And then a few more times, we're going to return to that affirmation that we opened our practice up with. Again, repeating to ourselves, maybe quietly in our heads this time, I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. I deserve to feel good in my body and in my being. I am worthy to receive. And gently letting that affirmation go. Again, moving into a time where you just simply receive the depth of this intention into your heart. feeling good in our bodies and in our beings. Taking time to honor what we need so that we can shine forth as our best. Lingering a little bit longer as we grow more and more quiet with our body. More and more quiet with our thoughts. And using the breath once again to enliven the body, hug the knees into the chest. Exhale, sending tailbone down to the mat. Let's draw our knees in a few little circles, just giving ourselves one last massage before we end our practice. And then moving the other direction. Again, rocking and rolling like a little ball today to come out of our Shavasana just a few times, really rounding into that spine. Next time, go ahead and cross the ankles. Join me in a seated position. Hands come to the heart. I am so glad you took this time for yourself today. Not every time we work out needs to be super aggressive movement. That nourishing recovery movement that just moves our body and makes us feel good is one of the best things we can possibly do for ourselves. So you did exactly what you should do, what you needed to do today, and I honor that. If you liked this video, I would love it if you leave me a comment below, give it a thumbs up, and I hope to join you next time. So don't forget to subscribe for more. Thank you, and namaste.